Desiree again. So this is for discussion post number 3. I know it's a little bit late, but I'm doing the first option and discussion question number 5. So it says, in the Goblin Market, how are both Laura and Lizzie represented in the poem, particularly in stanzas 2 through 4, and then later in the poem? So in stanza 2, Laura, she seems like the big, like, more mature sister. She says, we must not look at the goblin men, we must not buy their fruits, who knows upon what soil they fed, their hungry, thirsty roots. So she's cautioning her sister Lizzie not to buy from the goblin men. And Lizzie, it says she cried, Laura, Laura, you should not peep at goblin men. Lizzie covered up her eyes, covered close lest they should look. So she says that, and it gives Lizzie, it portrays Lizzie as the innocent sister, you know, the one that's afraid, particularly the smaller sister, you know, the younger sister. And it portrays Laura as the more mature and bigger sister, the more adult one that's trying to protect Lizzie. So as the poem goes on, Laura is the one that strays and tries the goblin fruit. She goes into a depression pretty much after she finds out she can't hear the goblins and buy their fruit anymore. And that's when she becomes, you know, frail and just depressed, stays in the house. She doesn't do any of her chores anymore. She doesn't upkeep with her life. And that's when Lizzie has to step up and kind of be the more mature and bigger sister. That's when she makes a decision to go to the goblin men and try and just buy their fruit without trying it, in hopes that just taking her sister some of the fruit or some of the dew off of the fruit will cure her sickness. So that's the first question. Then it says, compare and contrast Laura and Lizzie's experience with the goblin men. So Laura's was like existential. I don't think that's the right word. Like, it was like ecstasy for her. You know, at first she was afraid of the goblin men, but once she tried it, she like leaned in her curiosity and just completely immersed herself in the world and the fruit and got addicted to it. And then when she couldn't have it anymore, she was just like completely all consumed with it. So Lizzie, she heeded her sister's warning and saw the effect that it had on her, which is why she feared the goblin men. She'd never wanted to go around them, although she could hear them still and see them. She never approached them until the end of the story to try and save her sister. So Laura's was good in a way, you know, in hindsight, looking back now when she tells her children about it, it was awful, which in a way it was, but at the time, you know, in the moment for her, it was good. And Lizzie's has always been like very cautious and careful, like not to interact with them. Altogether, she fears them, especially after they beat up Lizzie and tried to make her eat the fruit. But Laura doesn't really see them in that way, so there's a lot of contrast there. And then, what do the goblin men of Rossetti's Goblin Market represent? So, I think it could represent lots of things. In my personal opinion, I think it represents, you know, how women are always told, you know, don't go out at night by yourself, don't meet strange men, you know, don't go home with strange men, don't give a strange man your phone number, like never put yourself in a situation like that. And then when they do, not so good things happen. So in that way, I that's what I translated it to be as, you know, the goblin men of the Goblin Market were just men, you know, not the best men out there, you know, rapists, you know, stuff like that. And then the sisters represent women in general. So how are the goblin men described, and why is description important? So at first, their fruit is described as like delicious and here, I'll read some of it. Just absolutely delicious. It just says, come buy, apples and quinces, lemons and oranges, plumped unpecked cherries. So it's just going into all the fruits that they have, all ripe together in summer weather. Our grapes fresh from the vine, pomegranates full and fine, dates and sharp boluses, rare pears, and green gauges? I'm not sure. But it's enticing. It's enticing because they want people to be enticed and try their fruits. They fall under the spell because it's actually poison. So it's important because how it's described, how that and the Goblin Men in general are described, is important to the story. So like you can see what Lizzie and Laura are seeing. So on one hand, the fruit is enticing, but the men, they're rat-like and cat-like and stuff like that, which obviously if you saw someone that looked like a cat, that wouldn't be very enticing. So it's important to think of what these sisters are seeing and like what maybe made Laura want to try the fruit in the first place and why Lizzie would be scared of them, if that makes sense. Yeah.